Good evening, everyone. I'm Varsha Chitnis, and thank you for logging in live again today. I'm really excited to talk to you today about seeking change, and I thank Dr. Professor Parnath for letting me do this session with you today. So, to seek change, okay, let's begin with analyzing these two terms. They're two different words put together. So when we say seek and we say change. Now if you look at both seek and change, they're both action words. They're verbs. So when you say seek, it's talking about some action that you take. So it could be to seek is to go, to find, to look for something. And change means to modify or to do things differently, right? So what are we looking for? What are we looking at here? When we say seek change or seeking change, so when I say seeking, what we're looking at is a continuous process. So when I'm saying seeking change, what we're talking about is looking for doing different things or looking for doing things differently. I'm sure we've all heard this multiple times, but today we're going to focus a little bit on how do I seek this change and how do I decide what change to seek. So that is the context of today's talk. So where did this need, how did I chance upon this topic? Let me begin from there. So seeking change is something which is so fundamental to each one of us. It is so very basic to us that sometimes we don't really think about it. And that's the reason I chose to, use today's live session to talk about it. So I was just looking up some material and I found a very interesting thing that I'd like to share with you, which is very related to what we're talking today. Neuroscience says that each human being has 7 core instincts. So instincts, that is mechanism, maybe we can call them as mechanisms in the human body, which are very, very essential for us to survive, to live. Now what are these 7 core elements? So one is that of fear, second grief, third core instinct that we are programmed or born with is pain, the fourth one is pleasure, the fifth is to play, sixth one is caring, and the seventh one is to seek. That means to look, to find. So to look or to seek is so fundamental to us. That means life, any form of life, is about seeking. And that is where seeking change, that is where this whole thing is emerging. Now when we say this is so fundamental to us, what are we talking about? So when we say we're seeking constantly, what are we doing? We are moving. We're moving either from point A to point B. So we're just transitioning maybe between one destination to another. Second phase to this would be while you're going point A to B to C systematically, maybe over a period of time, you start jumping. That means you start taking leaps and you start moving forward. So what we call is transcend, right? The word we use is transcend borders or transcend barriers. You must have heard these terms. So transcend is to take a leap, to kind of jump, right? So that is a second kind of seeking that we do. And while we're doing this journey, what is happening is something is changing, something is moving, something is evolving constantly. So this is so fundamental to life. So whether you in our personal lives, or whether it is businesses or anything that you look at, this is constantly happening, and we are also going through this journey. Now, when we're saying this is so fundamental to us, then maybe we should be just doing it naturally. Why are we even thinking, or why are we even talking about it today? Now, what happens is we're born with certain things, we just do them, right? But today, I'm going to make an appeal to you to look at how you're doing things, and to go back and look at how you're doing things, right? So the first thing here we're looking at is, since this is an instinct, what happens? Because we want to survive, we're looking for better things. That means simply, so whether it is, let's say, let's come back to our business world, or let's look at our lives, yeah, the corporate life, whether you're in a job or you're in your own business. Let's look at our real life. So in life, when we want to survive, we're looking for doing things better. Yeah, so we're looking at moving. A. B, we're also looking at living better. Right? So why living better? Because there is an environment in which we live, and the environment is constantly throwing challenges, right? So the environment is also changing. So according to that, we also seek different ways of doing things. So while we are going through this journey, we are either progressing. So most of the times we would like to progress, because we want to move. So any kind of movement. Now the direction of the moment we're not talking about right now. So it could be in any direction, but there needs to be a moment for life to go on, for energy to flow. There needs to be moments. So also in our careers, so also in our business, or whatever we choose to do. So when we're saying there needs to be a movement, that means we need to constantly look for a way. We constantly need to look for a path to move. So one is creating the path, or looking for the path, and two is making sure that I move along, right? I keep moving from point A to point B. So this is what we're going to talk about when we say seeking change. Now, how do I start this journey of seeking change? So before we get into that, I just want to state a couple of things. One, adapting to change, we've heard about this. Embracing change, yes, we know. Managing change, we also know this. But today what we're talking about is a little different. We're talking about seeking change. That means going around and looking for change. Going around and looking to change something. Right? So what is the difference between embracing change or managing change versus seeking change? So to put it very simply, those are probably, embracing or accepting change is more like a response, or more like a reaction once the environment has changed. But when we're looking at seeking change, this is something which needs to come in anticipation of what is going to happen. So we're not waiting for the environment to change, but we are doing something before the environment changes. That is what it is to seek change. So the first step to seek change is knowing what I want to change, and then we'll get into the process. So how will you know what? How will I know what I have to change? A, the clarity of what I need to change will come only when I am more aware about myself. So when I say when I'm more aware about myself, we're talking about two things. How aware I am about myself, me as a person. So me as a person includes what can I do, what can I do well, what is my expertise, how can I contribute, how can I contribute better, how can I be the person who is the go-to person in my work. Okay, so we're talking about different levels of capability. Okay, so what is my level of capability? How capable am I? Am I dependent? Am I just starting off? Am I dependent on the environment to perform? Am I independent? That means, can I do it in spite of whatever the environment throws at me? I am able to deliver. Or the third level, that yes, I've reached this level of expertise where others seek my advice or others have become dependent on me. That means I've moved into, let's say, like a leader, right? So I'm leading by example, that I'm doing things and people have started following me in some way. Okay, so when we're looking at capabilities, these are 3 or 4 points that you can look at to see how capable you are or what is the capability you have developed. So that is one part of becoming aware about yourself. The second part is, and a very, very important part, which often we don't focus on. So capabilities is something, especially for those of us who are working or doing business and some profession, or we're working, the environment makes sure that we look at our capabilities, because we do want to perform, we do want to move, we do want to grow. So that kind of comes, the environment kind of puts it in place. However, there's the other element that we don't often focus on is what is my belief system? What do I believe in as a person, as an individual? What are the values that I carry with me? That means, what do I stand for? What is important for me? So that is one element which we often don't really go deep into. Why we don't go into it is probably because it's not so easy. It's a little painful process, so possibly some of us avoid going there. But that's where a lot of value lies. So if we start exploring what is my belief system or what is my value system, there could be a couple of things you could think about. I'm going to give you 2 questions now which you can think about and reflect. Yeah. So if you're somebody who wants to seek change or wants to go on this journey, these are 2 questions you can ask yourself before you think of changing something, or before you decide what you want to change. So these could be 2 questions which could give you throw some light for you in terms of, is this the change I want to make? Okay. So the first question is, what do I value most? What do I value most? That's the first question. I'd suggest just write the answers to this, maybe 1 word, 2 words, whatever comes to your mind. Write a couple of options, look at them and see which of these really, really apply to you. Okay, that's one part. The second part is, what are your beliefs and where are they coming from? Okay, the second question is, what are my beliefs and where are they coming from? You will definitely see some correlation between the beliefs and values most of the times. Okay, if there's a gap there, if there is a gap, that is, your beliefs are not coming from any of the values that you've listed, well, that's where you need to seriously look, and probably that is a place where you would need to make some changes. So that is a space where you need to further explore and introspect. Okay, that's one aspect. So that could be one element that you might look for when you're looking at seeking change. The second thing is, once you've cleared what your values are and your beliefs are, the next thing is look at your environment. Look at the organization in which you're working. Look at the business that you're in. So when I say look at the environment, it starts with you, your immediate, let's say your boss, your co-workers, your team members. It could be your department, the whole, let's say, organization. It could be the industry, right? So look at the environment. Go progressively go out there and compare your beliefs and values and your capabilities to the existing environment. Once you start doing that, you will see there will be indicators which come your way which will tell you very clearly what is changing in the environment and how are you placed in terms of the changes that are happening, right? So on one hand you do, so number one, you do introspection, you see where you are, you become aware of yourself, then you go out there, find out a little more about your environment, compare the two. Wherever there is crack, that is, those could be initiatives for you to seek change. Okay? So once you have started looking for change, and so while you've done this, you've already started your journey of seeking change. So seeking change is about putting it to action, right? And I just want to place one thought here. There's a lot of material available everywhere on change, how to seek change, how to manage change, but many times we're just looking at this information, we're internalizing it, but we're not doing nothing with it. So when we say change, it is about action. So a simple thing like just changing the physical action is like just changing the position that the way I'm sitting. So whether I'm moving forward, whether I'm moving backward, unless there's a movement or a motion, there is no change. So just sitting there and doing a mental exercise and, you know, doing analysis and going over and over and over again is not what we're talking about when we say seeking change. We're saying about putting it to action, right? So a physical action needs to be there. Only then you're really on the path of seeking change. One. Now, two, very important. So I might just kind of contradict what I just said, but I want you to hold this thought. While I'm saying take action, I'm also saying don't rule out all the analysis, but you must know whether, please analyze relevant information only. This is most crucial, okay? Because if you do not have the relevant information, then possibly there's a possibility that you'll just keep going in circles and you're probably not, your analysis is not reaching any conclusion. You're just going in circles, right? So when I say look for relevant information, where? How do I look for relevant information? Where is it available? Simple. It is in your environment. It's just that you need to take the action to get it. Again, I'm talking about action. So listen. A, are you listening openly? B, are you focusing your attention properly? That's number two. Only when you do listening and you focus your attention will you understand this, you know, you will come upon information and you'll start looking at information differently. So I'm talking about very, very basic things, the approach that you have to listening. So here we're talking about a very simple, maybe changing a habit. We're talking about also changing a habit, the way you listen, the way you process information. This is also very important because each one of us is programmed and wired in a certain way. We like to process information in a certain way. And we like to do it in the same way because that comes easily to us, right? It's easier. That's what I am good at. That's what I've seen always. So I will tend to process information the same way. We need to understand that some of us are programmed in a way where we can look at data from multiple angles. So the more you look at any kind of information or data from very different angles, the more possibilities you can generate. And that is what is required to seek change. Looking at different possibilities. Okay? Second, if you're somebody who's more comfortable with doing things one way. Yeah? So for some of us, naturally, it's not so easy to look at things from different angles. Well, a very simple solution lies with you. Just connect with more people. Just connect and ask. So connect with people who are not only from your stream or not from your specialization. Connect with people who are very different. Ask them, share. You will see how they'll think. Ask them how they think. Ask them how they do things. Once you do that, you will see that, okay, somebody is doing something differently. Yeah, that gives you little food for thought, right? Because when we say out of the box thinking and we'll say, okay, think differently, sounds very nice, but there's a method to do it. So one way is look at the same set of information from different angles. B, talk to different, that means discuss that information with people from very, very different frames so that they give you very different perspectives. Now, so we finished three steps here, right? We said introspect first, right? Do a self-analysis. Then we said look at your environment, make a comparison, find out the gaps. Number 3, we said look for information, process it, seek. That means listen, observe, talk to people, get information. The third thing is, we've done all this, but another very important action we need to take here is to communicate and seek support. So sometimes we feel because I am seeking the change, okay, the whole onus is on me and I need to do it. And maybe that is what, is overwhelming us sometimes, right? So for example, let's say I've been in a job for a very long time and I'm looking at, okay, I think I've done it all. I've seen it all in this job. I want to change. But if you're just thinking and thinking and thinking, you're going nowhere. How many times have you reached out to people and asked them for support? Ask them, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think could be done? Do you know anybody else who feels like that? Yeah? What stops you from asking? So if you feel in your immediate environment, people are not so supportive, if you're not comfortable sharing this kind of thought or feeling with your colleagues, seek friends, seek people from other streams, from your family, from other social circles. And great, we have social media today, right? So you can post anything there and get a lot of views. So it's not very difficult. So why not go out there and ask, this is what I feel, how many of you feel so? And what do? You will see multiple ideas and strategies coming to you. All you need to do is just look at that information and see if that connects with you in some way. And then the path is going to be clear. So the second important physical action is going out there and speaking, connecting and seeking support. So if you chance upon somebody, let's say an expert or somebody who has more experience or somebody who's probably your age, and who's done a similar thing or thinks similarly, why not sit with that person, brainstorm, or why not connect and get their support? So many companies today I know offer mentoring as one of the essential things, right? So mentors are people who are experienced in the organization, and you can leverage their experience by talking to them. But if you don't go out and reach out to your mentor and talk and ask, nothing is going to happen for you. So to seek change is to make that effort, to go talk to a mentor, talk to somebody you can trust, right? And you can have your own mentor also, okay? So this is very important. So another small little tip is make one change at a time, go easy with yourself, and acknowledge the fact that you're making this effort. Very important, because seeking change is a journey. It's not about being perfect, right? So it's a journey, because every journey there's a movement forward, you're learning constantly and you're growing. And that is what is success today. If you look at organizations today, this is what is happening. We know what is happening today in most of the industries. IT sector, you know what's happening. A lot of people are moving out, but new people are going to get inducted, right? So there's a lot of change happening too. Even public sector units, public sectors today are looking at things differently. They're recruiting a whole lot of fresh blood, as they call it, in the organizations, because they want to thrive on change. So thriving on change today is the way it's going to be. That's the way to breathe, probably, if you want to be relevant and want to be in business or want to be in your job and do good. So with this, I end what I have to say, and if there are any questions, we can take those. It's time. So all right, I see no questions. Thank you.